Welcome to a new video. Today we're going old school. That's right, today I've got my 1970s setup handed down from my dad. I'm going to take it up to my local day ticket and see if I can catch a carp on it. Let's get the cat out of the van, let's go and catch one. We're up at the lake then, and the plan of attack for today is probably going to be doing a little bit of surface fishing, or possibly even long links like in the last video. So fishing in the upper layers, but fishing on the bite alarms with sort of bolt rigs, basically fishing over depth zigs essentially. But I am going to be using my old school gear, or my dad's gear I should say. It's his kit from the 1970s. I've got a set of fiberglass rods, set of Mitchell 300s, and I've got some slightly newer but still quite cult classics, the old Optonic bite alarms from probably the 80s, I guess. So yeah, we're going to be using some retro gear and hopefully catching a few carp on it. So I'm going to start feeding in some mixers, see if I can get the fish having it, and then we'll look at getting the rod set up, get them out in the pond, and see if we can actually catch one. Let's get it done. Ready to get the first rod out. So this isn't very old school, but we've got a hybrid leg clip and a 2-ounce lead, and I've got a long link of about 8.5, maybe even 9 foot, down to a little mixer or floating pellet imitation, which is basically a trimmed down bug pop-up, and I'm going to flick that out. Okay, now I've got obviously the old rods, so we're going to be fishing on what you call a churn, which is basically the reel is on back wind, and when the fish takes it, the reel will spin around. Rod 2 going out. This one is a little bit shorter than the other one. See if that does the business. So I showed you these in the last video, but this is what I'm using. These are the Beta Stim 11mm floaters, and I do find the larger ones a little bit better. It aids in your presentation, so you can use a bigger size hook bait without them sort of spooking off of it. You can get these in 6mm, which is very effective at getting tricky fish feeding, but it's a lot harder to present a hook bait because you need a larger hook bait to obviously balance your rig out or balance your hook out. But yeah, they're lovely. Lovely floating pellets. Obviously got that Beta Stim scent to them as well, and the fish seem to absolutely love them. So let's put a few more in. Well, the rods are out then, and we are fishing, ready for an old school absolute churner on those Mitchell 300s. But yeah, I'm using long links. I've got one on 8 foot, one on 9 foot or thereabouts, both on trimmed down little pop-ups. DNA bug, I think they are, 50 millers, just trimmed down to try and look like one of the floating pellets. And we'll see if they're up for it. They're taking the floating pellets quite readily. They seem pretty active and feeding, even though it's very overcast. There's been a bit of rain as well. They're still up in the water. Definitely a good stock of fish on the surface. So hopefully it comes good and we can get a bite or two before going. But I'm only doing a morning session. I don't tend to do mornings, but I've actually got to pick the lad up from school later on. So I've literally come out about 8 o'clock, half 8 I think it is when I got here, and I've got till probably about 11. Then I'm going to have to go off, do a couple of jobs before picking them up from school at sort of half 3. So yeah, it's a short session again, only a couple of hours, well, say 3 hours maybe, but hopefully it's enough time to get a bite or two and show you the old gear in action. So yeah, let's see if we can get those fiberglass rods flexing. Fingers crossed we end up with a bite or two. been fishing for about 45 minutes now and I haven't had a take. I can't believe it. Last time I was here using this same tactic, I had a take within about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. They were really quick to respond to it. Now, it could be that I've got the length for the long links wrong. That is very important to get them like bang on the right length so that you are obviously hooking the fish right. But maybe I've had a couple of like sort of rejections, I'm not too sure. But what I'm going to do is give it a little bit longer, and if it doesn't go, I will sort of bring them in, adjust the length of them, maybe shorten them down a little bit and see if that makes any difference. But one is shorter than the other, so I would have thought at least one of them would have gone, like maybe the shorter one would have gone, but maybe it isn't short enough. So we'll have to make those adjustments as and when. But for now, I'm going to have a coffee. Been fishing for 45 minutes. And although it's warm, it's always nice to have a coffee in the morning. So I'm going to have a coffee. I made it at home to bring out instead of bringing all the brew kit. Obviously keeps the weight down. And yeah, I'm going to sit here and have a coffee for a bit. And hopefully I'll get disturbed by one of the rods rattling off. Right, well, nothing's happening. So I'm going to make an adjustment and I'm going to change the length of one of the rigs. Right, I've just changed the length of the long links then, just to see if it makes a difference. Only by about 6 inches or so, but sometimes that is all that it needs to make a big difference. So we'll see if it happens. But yeah, the fish are absolutely smashing the floaters, but they don't seem to be nailing the rigs. So something's wrong and we need to make a change. So hopefully that is the one. Well, I've been instead watching the water, just watching the fish feeding on the floaters basically, and one thing I've noticed is they seem to be really nailing them, and I'm amazed I haven't had a take. And the only thing I can put it down to is the fact that I'm using trimmed down pop-ups on the hair, on the long links, and I'm wondering whether they're sat a little bit differently, and because the light levels are getting gradually better as the day goes on, I'm wondering whether they can see it and it looks a little bit too dangerous for them and they're just ignoring it. Because the last time I was here, I was fishing on the evening with this tactic and the light levels were obviously dropping, it was getting darker. So I'm wondering whether they couldn't see the hook baits very well, and that's why I was getting sort of quick bites, because it just looked like a normal mixer to them. But at the moment I'm wondering if it looks a little bit blatant and maybe they're just totally ignoring them, not even taking them at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try at least on one of them is putting on one of the floating pellets. The only thing is they won't last very long. They're not that buoyant, so hopefully we'll get a bite quite quickly on them, because yeah, I don't think they're going to stay up for very long. But we'll see how we get on, see if that makes any difference and go from there. So I've just mounted one of the floating pellets on the long link. Let's see if that actually works. Right, rain's coming down a bit now, but we've got the floating pellet out there, so we're going to put a few freebies out. Let's see if that makes any difference. Change the tactic then. I've now got a little 10-gram floater on, a slightly shorter hook length of about 4 foot, and I've got a floating pellet on the hook. We're going to fish straight on the surface, classic floater fishing style, and see if this actually works, because I'm amazed I haven't had a take. Oh, I just missed one. I literally just flicked that out, got nailed straight away. Yeah, we're in. Oh, finally. We are in on the old rod. Look at that bend. To be fair, these are actually pretty good floater rods because they're lovely and soft. Wicked. Oh, he's dropped off. Oh. Clearly wasn't a very good hook hole. Yeah, it's all twisted up. Here's a look at the gear then. So I've got the classic Mitchell 300A. So these are pretty old reels. I think they're from the 70s. It's what my dad first sort of used for his carp fishing. And it's actually what I used in the 90s for my carp fishing. So this rod and reel combo is actually what I learned to carp fish with. And they're about £1.75 test curve, these rods. Fiberglass, probably nowhere near that anymore. They're probably closer to about £1.25. Obviously they've been used and abused over the years. Both rods are actually slightly different. So they're the same blank, which I believe is Sunridge, but it's been made slightly differently because my dad actually made them up himself. Put the handles and rings and everything on them, but they are very used and abused. As you can see, they're wearing quite a bit nowadays. They could do with sort of getting remade up really, but yeah, they've all been sort of handmade by my dad, and they've caught a lot of carp. I've actually used these on linear fisheries, would you believe, back in the day, on Oxleys, on the original syndicate back in the early 2000s. Caught a lot of fish out of there on these, so they can do the business, even though they're very sort of dated now. It's wicked fun, and when you catch them, I don't tend to use the actual drag. I tend to use a backwind, and you get what is called a churner when you're fishing them on the alarms, where the reel just spins backwards like that. But yeah, it's really good fun, and I'm hoping to try and get a fish now on the surface if I can. Yep. Thought that'll work. Well, I've literally just changed the presentation on the hook. Basically, I had a little hair rig on there, and it clearly was too obvious, and the fish were sussing it out every time. Although I did lose a fish on it, I just thought it's clearly just not working. I'm not getting enough takes. And I quite literally have just changed it so that the bait is mounted really tight to the actual hook, and straight away it's been nailed. Literally the first fish that's inspected it has just nailed it, and we're in. So bit of a result. That just shows presentation is everything on the surface. You do need to present the bait in the right way for the fish to feel confident enough to actually take it. So I think we might have the little ghostie I've seen more swimming about as well. Yeah, we have. Happy days. That's a nice result. Amazing. Well, there we go then. It's not a big one, but making that change on the floaters did the business, and we've managed this lovely, beautiful little fish. So made my day catching on those old rods. But it's been a tricky session, but nice to have had one. And we'll slip this one back. It's probably going to be time to go home soon, so we might have time for one more. But if not, what a nice fish to catch on a short little trip. Let's get him home. Cheers, mate. I only needed one fish, but a lovely little one, lovely scaly thing. I did lose one as well and missed a couple of opportunities on the top. But after making that change and fishing the hook bait really tight to the hook, the fish absolutely nailed it. And it just shows that you do have to have your presentation right. You know, you can catch fish on anything, but sometimes you do have to have it really sort of bang on for them to make that mistake, and luckily they did. But really nice catching on those old rods, 1970s fiberglass sticks, and the old Mitchell 300s. Wicked fun, and it's always nice to get out now and then, a couple of times a year, and try and put a bend in them and get a few fish on them. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the subscribe button around here. Watch this video down here for some extra fishing content. Until next Tuesday at 6:30, get out on a bank, enjoy your fishing, and I'll see you then. Be lucky.